Welcome to Dale's Dominion podcast, where we discuss Virginia real estate and beyond. Here's your host, Dale Shoup.
Welcome to Dale's Dominion, Virginia real estate and beyond, where we dive deep into the world of real estate and title insurance. And if we have enough time, we might talk about money and motivation, or cars and coffee, or maybe even burgers and bourbon. I'm your host, Dale Shoup. Today, my guest is Jessica Harrison. She's a dynamic professional who has transitioned from a career in real estate to an insurance risk advisor, and we'll find out what that is. She's a dedicated professional, but also a loving mother and wife, an Airbnb host, an active board member at Bridge of Hope, which is an organization that helps families facing homelessness. Beyond her professional and community endeavors, Jessica loves concerts, comedy shows, and traveling. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you, Dale. And I think I mentioned to you, I love podcasts. So I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Great. We're glad to have you. So we'll go to the beginning a little bit, career-wise. Tell us about how you got into real estate and how you got out of real estate and over to insurance.
Yeah, so I started real estate about 5 years ago. Just dove in full time, did so many different things, working with first-time home buyers, short-term rentals, so many different aspects of the industry. And so in 2020, me and my husband had our daughter, Carter. So she just turned 4. And that for me was a main driving factor of kind of shifting my career. Real estate, everyone says, oh, it's so flexible. It definitely is. You can do absolutely anything with it. But it's so important. You have to be available for your clients, to meet their needs at all times, especially in the market that we've been in for the past 4 years. You can't sit and wait on things. You have to be ready to go. So being able to work less in the evenings and on weekends, having a more set schedule for our family, that was definitely what made the push. Insurance wasn't necessarily on the radar, but I was trying to figure out, how can I stay connected with real estate? Where are maybe some of the gaps in this industry where, I could still be able to work with some of the same clients, some of the same people, because I didn't want to leave, the industry and all the people that we work with here locally.
Yeah. So what does a personal lines insurance risk advisor do?
So mainly we are working with clients on analyzing their risk portfolio. So for most of us, our biggest risk that we have is the equity that, is in our home. That's usually most people's, your biggest purchase of your lifetime potentially. Also, you've got your 401k, if you have any money for your children that might, be passed down in the future. All of that comes into play when you're talking about insurance. So you've got homeowners insurance, auto insurance, and then you also have umbrella insurance. I work on more of the personal lines side of our business. So that's kind of what my portfolio right now consists of. And then, you also have your commercial lines side of the business. So a lot of it crosses in between. We're working with obviously a lot of homeowners. In this area, though, we have a lot of small business owners. So we really specialize in working with them and being able to analyze a lot of their risks, because it might be a little bit different in our area than down in Richmond or Northern Virginia. So being able to understand our market, I think, is really important.
Yeah, definitely. So it's still a role where you're involved some in sales, and anytime we're in sales, there's skepticism and competition. So how do you build and maintain trust with your clients in an environment like that?
Yeah, I feel like sales professionals maybe aren't always often the most appreciated or respected people. There's obviously, good and bad, just like everyone has good and bad experiences in any industry. But especially right now with, the news and everything going on, I think most of us are more skeptical probably than we've ever been. So when working with our clients, I feel like being able to really recognize their unique differences. So, what are their strengths, their challenges, their goals? Everyone is a little bit different. And so being able to tailor even just your communication, like, is it email, text, video calls, you really have to adapt in the sales industry. It's constantly changing. Your clients are always going to be, have different needs. And so to be able to make them feel understood, I feel like that really goes a long way, and they see that and it reflects in the service. And so all of those, small acts that you can do to be more, more of that service, not sales, kind of professional, I think that says a lot. And then also being able to really just know that industry, be a professional in the industry and be able to provide your client with knowledgeable advice, knowing where to go for clients, knowing, being able to be connected with the people here locally in our industry that are able to lead the clients as well, to give them that same experience on all ends. I think that really builds trust, especially over time and working through such an important transaction, whether it be, in real estate or insurance. We're usually working with the lender, the closing company. We want everything to be really cohesive and smooth and easy for the clients, and they see that. And when they experience that, they return.
Yeah.
They will return by returning. So hopefully is the goal. So I feel like for me, that is, the reputation that I've always wanted to uphold, no matter what industry I'm working in.
Yeah. So being an expert in your field and also kind of being able to make sure you're being of service. How can I be of service? I see that in you. And also, you emphasize the importance of community and connecting with people. I know when we run into each other at events, you've always been a great conversationalist and good at connecting. You don't shy away from meeting new people or having a conversation. Do you have a story maybe where your network, the folks you interact with, made a significant impact on someone's life?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked, actually, because I feel like just throughout my career, there have been so many instances that like give me chills, and like good chills, not like bad, scary, but like this was meant to be.
Yeah.
And so one of those was back in 2019. So like soon after I started, I was working with a client. She was a referral from a local lender, and she was a first time home buyer. And they're probably my favorite group of people to help. They're just eager, they're motivated, and they need the help. They appreciate, the service that you provide as well.
Yeah.
So this client, Tammy, she is an ambitious single mom. She had two kids who at the time, one was in elementary school and one was in middle school. And so, we had some restrictions that we were working with, like they needed to stay in the, right school district, the budget, the loan requirements that we were trying to work through. But she was determined. And so I was determined, and I was like, I know we're going to make this happen for you. Like, don't worry. So we finally got all the pieces of the puzzle in place. She closed on her house, and I stayed connected with her, going to the salon that she works at as my hairstylist. So I still go to her. And about a year or two ago, I was in, and she had like on her little desk a brochure, and it said Bridge of Hope. And so I started, asking some questions about, hey, what's that? What does that mean? Is that an organization? And so she started sharing a little bit about how the Bridge of Hope program works and how they specifically work with single parent families that are at risk of homelessness or are homeless. Our mission statement is to engage Christian faith communities in ending family homelessness through neighboring relationships that demonstrate Christ's love. So Tammy shared with me that she had actually been a graduate of that program. And so, yeah, that was something that, I never knew about her until years later, after all of this happened. And so, yeah, she invited me to see if I wanted to be on the board. And so that's kind of the full circle story of how I landed on the board at Bridge of Hope. So it's really special to me that we've been able to stay connected, and we do serve on the board together as well. So she's an inspiration.
Great. Is there anything else you want to share? While you brought up Bridge of Hope, I was going to ask about that in a little bit, but is there anything else you want to share about that organization? Kind of what they do or what they need or how to connect with them if you've got folks out here listening that want to contribute or help in some way.
Of course. Yeah. So our success really, part of the program depends on a three-way network. So you've got the family that's, at risk. You've got their caseworker, and then what we call a group of neighboring volunteers. And so for us to be able to bring in a new family, we need all of those pieces to be in place along with housing. Um, so for, that has been a piece of the puzzle that's definitely been the hardest right now is getting housing. So one of the ways that, we can help most in our network with Bridge of Hope, if anybody wants to support, is by connecting us with landlord partners. So to be able to get the family housing, we work with landlord partners, and actually we sign the lease. So Bridge of Hope signs the lease and guarantees that rent. They work with the families, are going in, each week checking on things. So for our landlords, it really ends up being like a savings usually on their management fees. And then of course for our families, we're able to then provide safe housing, and we do it on a decreasing basis over time where we supplement the payment. So over a 12 to 18 month program, the families are, working on budgeting. Our case managers might help them, find how to get a new certification for their job to maybe increase their pay, so that once they do graduate from our program, they are able to, hopefully sustain safe housing for their family and their children. So some of the resources, though, that we also, need are those neighboring volunteers. That's a huge part of our network. It's usually a group of 6 to 10, maybe faith-based group that walks alongside that family through the program. So they're there to provide that, that neighboring network that maybe this family never had or doesn't have, to call on and say, I need somebody to talk to, or, to give them a ride to the grocery store, when their car's broken down, and to be able to just point them into the direction of those resources to build back that bridge.
Yeah, gosh, isn't that what being part of a community is kind of all about, right?
Definitely. Yeah. It's been amazing to work with them. I've been on the board for a year now. And just to see, this area, like how supportive, everyone is of each other. I do feel like, it's that love thy neighbor sense is really ingrained into the Shenandoah Valley.
Yeah. So, I assume y'all do fundraisers. How can folks connect with Bridge of Hope? Is there a website or a Facebook page?
Yeah, we do have, there is a Facebook page. There's a website. You can find our local Bridge of Hope, Harrisonburg, Rockingham, Bridge of Hope. It is a national organization, but we are a local piece of that. Our biggest events, one of them's coming up in August. It's at Brothers Craft Brewing. It's called Beans and Brews. So it's kind of like a chili cook-off style event. We have our biggest event in the fall called Locavore, and that's a great time at Bluestone. It's really turned into this like magical experience. You get to hear from one of our graduates, and just really experience, what this program offers. And then, the other great day is the Great Community Give. That's our, the whole community comes together. I think it was over $2 million this year. So for us, that's also definitely a big fundraising day. You can always go on our website and donate at any time, though. All of that money goes back towards our program. We have very small overhead expenses, and our program, I think we have over 90% from our local organization success rate of families. So, yeah.
So that keeps you busy. Plus your role as a mother and a wife. You've got an Airbnb you co-host, and your regular day job. Imagine balancing all that can be challenging. What strategies do you use to manage your time, to stay motivated, to keep going?
Well, it's, we were talking, I think, about it actually a little bit before the podcast. Not focusing on all the little details, like, everything doesn't have to be perfect sometimes.
Yeah.
We do our best, and but striving sometimes for perfection can, put you in a state of fear, maybe,
Sure.
versus, just going after something. So for me, being able to learn, and grow from those imperfections versus maybe, focusing
Yeah.
on maybe the negatives, or, however you frame that all the time. I think that has helped me set maybe more realistic goals. I think that helps me with time management. Trying to be perfect all the time, that can be very time consuming.
Um, so you went from full-time real estate to full-time insurance. What skills sort of translated from real estate to insurance, and then what skills have you had to learn something new?
So with insurance, I feel like almost everything that I've learned has been able to
Yeah.
translate.
Okay.
We are working with, very similar industries.
Hmm.
We're working with underwriters, negotiating. Obviously, sales is a big piece of that. Just working with people and general, your communication style. I really feel like, it's kind of led me into where I'm meant to be, right now, the path that I've taken, because if I didn't have the knowledge and like looking at tax records, analyzing maybe replacement cost of homes, just working with new construction, or, pricing, remodels with clients, that's been very helpful when I am, analyzing policies for clients. The one thing I absolutely did not know, though, was about insurance in general. Um, that was definitely, I knew there was numbers and coverages, and, I wasn't sure, the importance, or how to explain that. It didn't make sense. A lot of people, why am I paying for insurance? And so I fell a little bit into that category where I was just naive of, the ins and outs of the industry, and what all you're paying for, even.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of folks I talk to, and I see it some in work, like insurance rates are going up, have been going up a good bit here lately. How do you see the future of mitigating risk going forward? With everybody's got rising rates, so how do we compete? Does AI play in it? What sort of tools and data can you use to sort of tailor a product to a customer and help with those rising rates?
Isn't that the $1 million question?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Good answer.
Um, so yeah, right now insurance companies are struggling. They haven't been making profit like, they want to. They've been probably more negative in a lot of instances over the past few years. So that does affect the greater whole. So, we're all seeing premiums go up, the cost of homes, replacing homes, labor, same with auto rates, everything, the expense of everything, as we all know, inflation, everything's gone up in price. And so just, similar to that, we're seeing that on the insurance side, but carriers are working, especially with their what they're looking at right now in losses to try to be more proactive in mitigating those losses. So with home insurance, one of the biggest risks right now is the roof. That's, one of the most expensive repairs of a home, and most owners are going to let that go, until it has to be repaired, which is, it's normal. Like, unless it needs it, don't fix something until it's broke. So that has become a big concern. And so a lot of our carriers are non-renewing homes that might be older, might have an older roof. So being able to keep up with the maintenance of the home, replacing, your systems, like even your HVAC, your roof, the plumbing, making sure all of those are updated is going to be very important moving forward, and is going to help you save. How that helps us save is we're a broker. And so we don't work with just one carrier, we work with numerous carriers. And so I'm able to place your house with more options if it does have, is in better shape, it has been updated, versus a lot of these carriers are turning away from higher risk. An older home to them is going to be a much higher risk. So they're not taking those on right now. They are working on trying to analyze and incentivize more mitigation tactics, though, for the clients. So, they can only do so much when they're inspecting, look at the roof, look at the systems, as much as you can see, but they're asking clients to, or requiring in some cases clients to put in fire burglar alarms. Obviously, smoke detectors, are important, deadbolts, but carriers do give discounts for those things. And so we're seeing more, security measures that they're, again, incentivizing water shutoff detection, or even just a water leak sensor. You get discounts if you have, wind mitigated, shutters, or a hardier material roof. Those are all going to be looked at as, a lower risk client. And then they're also, to save time and money using things like AI and technology, having drones or satellite imagery to be able to analyze the condition of a home and the condition of a roof. I mean, we get immediate response like, nope, no, that does not qualify in our risk category. Like, it's from their technology that they're already using from some of our carriers. So that has come a long way and is going to continue. With auto insurance, a little bit different. We've seen it with a lot of some of the bigger companies. They're using what's called telematics. And so that's going to track more of like how fast you speed up, how quickly you brake, some of those factors. If you drive a lot, at night, later in the evening, that might be a little bit more of a risk. And so with telematics, cars actually already, a lot of the newer ones have these systems installed. And so the idea is that some of these car companies are going to be sharing this data with insurance companies in the future and going to be able to, mitigate a lot of the risk, or, not good drivers are going to be they're going to be benefit from their driving behavior, essentially, is going to be in the long run. But it's also going to make claims processes smoother. Hopefully when we're analyzing just any kind of data, AI is going to come into big play for us. So it's a lot of numbers. When you're looking at insurance, you've got a lot of, actuaries and, people analyzing data on the background. And so it can be time intensive. And I anticipate this saving our clients, hopefully, a lot of hassle. Honestly, I think it's going to, at least, if anything, make it a lot smoother of a process for everyone.
Okay. Well, that sounds promising, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, AI is AI.
Maniac, and not so helpful.
Yeah, I mean, AI is AI. We either have to, we're going to have to learn how to work with it. definitely coming. There's no way to shy away from it. We have actually, if you haven't looked into Chat GPT, do you use Chat GPT at all?
I do. I do. It actually helped me write some of the questions.
Yes, we one of the guys here at the office, we went to a little talk about Chat GPT, just how it works, and our minds were
Yeah,
absolutely, blown about what you can do with it. And so, yeah, I mean, I think there's positives and negatives with everything.
for sure. Yeah. So, if you could talk to your younger self or someone that's considering a career in the insurance industry, or maybe transitioning from another background like you did, what sort of advice would you have for them?
So if they're thinking about insurance specifically, I would just say definitely do your research. There's so many different career paths that you could take with insurance. Whether you're an adjuster, an underwriter, you're in sales, you're maybe a customer service representative. It's not just, there's not just um, one thing to do.
Yeah, yeah.
It takes a group of people to make this happen. And so I think if you can figure out what positions maybe are tailored to like your strengths or what you would be best at, definitely do your research because there are many positions in insurance that can be lucrative. But just finding what's right for you, really, because I think a lot of people think insurance is boring. But it's not always boring.
No, no. Especially if anything goes wrong, that's when it gets exciting.
Yes,
Unfortunately,
well, I like working on my end of things. That I'm like the happy sale.
right?
I like the sales side of things. I thankfully don't have to do a whole lot on the claim side, but we do work with in our office. We have people that's their role.
Okay.
Um,
So, in addition to podcasts, you also love concerts and comedy shows, traveling, music. How do how do these different experiences and hobbies influence your professional life and contribute to your overall well?
Well, I think we love to travel, and even just like if it's around Virginia, there's so many beautiful places to be able to visit, so many different cultures. There's beautiful art, music, the mountains, the beaches, so much to experience here. And I feel like, just being able to explore keeps you connected more with people and helps me learn how to communicate and really just be more understanding of the people that we work with.
I just want to take a minute to acknowledge your dedication to your profession, to your family, staying connected in your community. It really is inspiring. From your work in real estate to your work in insurance, your involvement with Bridge of Hope, you've shown an exceptional commitment to making a positive impact. And so, thank you for doing that, and thank you for sharing about it with us today.
Thank you, Dale. You're someone I was really excited to do this with because you're so easy to talk to. And so, yeah, I always love, you're always supportive of our community here. And, I
Yeah,
see you, like you said, you're always at every event, talking to every single person. You don't shy away from saying hi to anybody.
no, it's we have such a great opportunity, and there's so many good folks involved around here, especially in the real estate community. It's yeah, and I get to learn so much about them and what they're involved in, and maybe try to find a way to get the word out about the different organizations they volunteer for or represent. And yeah, it's really been an eye-opening experience. So to wrap it up, I always ask a couple of questions about some local favorites. So here in the Valley, we have great breweries and wineries and locally owned restaurants. What are some of your favorites?
So, place I wanted to mention was the White Oak Lavender Farm. I don't
Yes.
know. We love going there, whether you're just going with a friend or it's a very family friendly place. We
Mhm.
love taking our family when they come from out of town. They have great wine. I mean, all the lavender products you could imagine, and even like a little petting zoo
Yeah.
there. So yeah, it's great fun for everybody. If you haven't been, I mean, beautiful views as well.
Yeah,
I think that also is something unique that I haven't seen a lot of other places is the lavender farm.
true.
So yeah, if you haven't experienced it, I would recommend that.
Okay. Well, very good. Thank you so much for your time and yeah, for sharing a little bit about your journey and for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.